It's August 23rd, 2023, a Wednesday, 9:31 p.m. My name is Kessie Ian Anderson, and welcome back for another edition of Heresiarch.
I'm the fear addicted, danger illustrated. I'm a fire starter, twisted fire starter.
So out of nowhere, I get notified by YouTube that they deleted one of my old videos. I made a meme video on Q. It was called Q1 and a non-story. I thought it was legitimately well done, but apparently it went against their standards, community standards, so it was deleted. Of course, and it's only going to get worse. This will be my last video on Maui. Huge tragedy, huge cover-up. And I think more people are actually aware of it than what the powers that be want. And I think that's why they're escalating the incoming lockdowns, the incoming masking, and the incoming magic juice push. Even though anybody who is aware and has half a brain will know that it's all a scam. Again, only those that are magic juiced should be the ones that are definitely in fear of their lives, because they are immunocompromised via the magic juice. In 1993, the Philips laboratory developed a coaxial plasma gun capable of accelerating 1 to 2 milligrams of plasma by up to 100 billion in a toroid of 1 meter in diameter. The toroids are similar to spheromax, but differ in that an inner conductor is used to accelerate the plasma, and that confinement behavior results from interactions of the toroid with its surrounding atmosphere. It utilized the Shiva star capacitor bank to satisfy the large energy requirements that were needed. The plasma projectiles would be shot at a speed expected to be 3,000 kilometers per second in 1995 and 10,000 kilometers per second, 3% of the speed of light by 2000. A shot has the energy of 5 pounds of TNT, 2.27 kilograms of TNT. Donut-shaped rings of plasma and balls of lightning caused extreme mechanical and thermal shock when hitting their target, as well as producing a pulse of electromagnetic radiation that could scramble electronics. I'll just leave this here. They were able to accelerate plasma to 10% of light speed 30 years ago. Project Marauder. Now imagine that being deployed. Imagine that being actually useful 30 years later. If you don't think they don't have stuff along these lines, along with the direct energy weapons, and imagine the damage it can do. Imagine what could be happened. One lady online commented about the Lahaina fires and is like, how come no doors are open? How come nobody tried to escape? How come all the car doors were closed? In all the footage that you see, all the car doors were closed. It was as if something hit them so hard or mentally scrambled their brains that they weren't able to function, to maybe even move. My argument is that if EMF is used, it will probably incapacitate your neural activity. You won't be able to do anything. So you're just going to be a sitting duck when the switch gets flipped.
Şuralar ateş. Bak, of. Ah 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 ah. Ah ah of of. Of Allah'ım.
And I do stand by the direct energy weapon theory.
The Department of Defense spends about $1 billion annually developing directed energy weapons, such as high-energy lasers and high-powered microwaves. These weapons can disrupt or destroy their targets at the speed of light. For example, DoD has developed high-energy lasers that have successfully shot down drones, but speed isn't their only advantage. They're also less expensive per use than traditional weapons like guns and missiles. Despite those potential advantages, DoD has had trouble getting these technologies out of the lab and into service. The Army has developed a detailed transition plan to support moving these weapons into the next stages of development. We recommended that the Navy and the Air Force develop similar plans.
All of it is not mutually exclusive. There were arsonists, there were power lines, there was faulty grid. I think they rerouted the power to power one of the DEWs, if not the space satellites, if not the aircraft that can fly with the mounted lasers. Now I'm going to play a clip. It's only a couple minutes, but it explains thermal runaway in lithium-ion batteries, and especially for electric vehicles.
All electric vehicle battery fires start with what's called thermal runaway. This is an unstable chemical process that's hard to stop once it gets started. To understand this, first let's look at an EV battery pack. It's made up of lithium-ion battery cells. Multiple cells make a module, and multiple modules make a pack. The pack usually sits beneath the electric vehicle between the four wheels. Thermal runaway starts when a cell is damaged, causing it to short circuit. It heats up and eventually bursts, releasing toxic and flammable electrolytes and gases. Other nearby cells follow the same process, and eventually they ignite, or in a small number of cases we researched, the gases can explode. When thermal runaway happens, you'll see a dark vapor cloud followed by a lighter vapor cloud. This is not smoke, it's gases escaping from the battery cells. You'll hear popping noises, which are the cells bursting. These have been described as being as loud as gunshots by witnesses. You may hear a whistling or hissing noise, which are the gases escaping under pressure. And when the gases ignite, you'll see highly directional, jet-like flames from underneath the vehicle. You can find more information about everything discussed here at evfiresafe.com.
And what is the last thing you want to throw on a battery ignition to stop it? What you are told not to do is put water on it. So, back in the day with my flight attendant training, you were to use a halon. It's a different chemical composition to stop thermal runaway. And even then, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful, because once those ignite, once those battery cells take off and it spreads, there's not much you can do about it. The water was shut off in Maui. The firefighters had nothing to work with. The cops were literally cordoning off and pushing people into the kill grid. Well, if you look at it from the Anon who mentioned it from my last video, he talked about electric vehicles and the batteries. And if you do, you see a whole bunch of videos online and reports online from people in electric vehicles in the past with Teslas that they have been locked into their car in heat conditions. Locked in or locked out. Now, there are methods of manually opening the car, but I don't know how easily accessible they are. Besides, get it contained to a degree. So imagine there's a fire, you send firefighters in there, but it's an all electrical fire, whether it's from the electric vehicles and their batteries blowing, and also just being straight up zapped. So what do? They put water on it, and then that would prove to the world what exactly would be going on with these fires. So they had to have the water shut off. Now, there's a gentleman on YouTube. I pay attention to his stuff about once every couple months, just because it's quite repetitive and not much is happening. It's always 2 more weeks. But his name is MonkeyWerx. So I'm going to play a 5-minute clip from his YouTube channel. I'm also going to put a link in the description below that you can follow him. I do recommend that you follow him. He gives great information. Anyway, he ended up giving a monologue yesterday about these e-weapons and government investments into the direct energy weapon program, and how many governments have stated on record that they are participants and have these weapons at their disposal. So that people who claim it is a conspiracy theory are just choosing purposefully and knowingly to be in denial. Because a world where the government is literally targeting its own people is basically a reality that they want to avoid at all costs, because the implications are too big. So here we go with MonkeyWerx.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk directed energy warfare in the 21st century. Now, this is just to show you that this stuff is still very, very active, very busy. I'm going to go through some of the data points for you, but this one right here, just notice this is taking out a missile that's inbound coming from a satellite, and this stuff has been around for quite some time. You may remember the Ronald Reagan Star Wars program that started a lot of this, but they call them e-weapons. And we've seen some strange things happen around all over the place that make us question what the heck is going on, because it doesn't add up. There are reports of, you'll see reporters talking about being on ground and how it smells like fireworks, kind of strange. You'll see trees that are green and right beside a car that is melted to the ground. It's just, like I said, it is not adding up. And I think a lot of people are starting to question. Now, am I saying anything with Maui or any of that has to do with or dues? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, things just look very strange out there, okay? You may remember, and we'll kind of go into this real fast. You remember what happened at the Beirut port a while back? Now, this is going to go through the regular speed and it's going to slow down. Notice the sunbeam that is kind of shining over the area there. Notice that it looks like it moves. The sunbeam actually moves across the building. You'll notice it more. What was that? You'll notice more, maybe a lens flare, I don't know, but notice, here goes the sunbeam. Notice how it tracks out in front of that shockwave. Lights up the building. Did you see that? Watch it again. Not saying that's the do. I'm just saying very strange things take place. Now, Turkey, I believe, actually said that was one of their dues that actually did this. So see that flash that came across? Now, I think that was the explosion flash and a lens flare, but it's weird. Watch the sunbeam go across the building. See how it moves? That was really strange, all right? So let's talk about the forecast. You get into it, you've got 19.6% between 2022 and 2027 in terms of the increase. $5.3 billion were for 2022 spent on directed energy weapon in the marketplace. And then they're saying by 2027, they're expecting that to go up to $12.9 billion. Notice who the players are, right? You got Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop, Thales, and BAE Systems. And this is really, it just goes to show you that there's a lot of money being poured into this technology and capability, okay? Now, you may remember that Dutch Sense, if you don't follow this guy, you need to, but he tracks a lot of wild stuff. Most of the time he is on earthquakes, but he does jump over into some of the other data from time to time, and this was one. On September 9th, 2020, this was a fire that broke out. I want to say it was in Paradise City, but he caught this across the radar screen. Notice that red glare that goes blasting across as the fire ignites. Same location, just happens to be directly on it. Yeah. So they're saying that this fire that took place in Maui is very reminiscent of the same that took place in Paradise City. And I believe that is the right one. I may be wrong on that name, but I think it was Paradise City. But they're saying that there was no way out. People were trapped, and a lot of people perished. So now we talk about that. Let's talk about who has it, okay? These are the countries that actually claim to have them, right? China, France, Germany, United Kingdom, Russia, India, and Pakistan. That's kind of surprised the India and Pakistan piece, especially the Pakistan side. But, and this does include the United States, who is probably the primary on all of this. Notice down at the bottom, Iran and Turkey. Now, Turkey was the one that claimed in 2019 that they used the DO for the first time. We'll see. Nobody's really come forward and said that was it, other than Turkey themselves. But Iran having DOs, that's a little bit of a concern. We'll talk more about Iran here in a minute. So let's get back over here to the rest of the news and what's going on. Notice, as we get into this, you've got the Pentagon is saying they're spending $1 billion a year on directed energy weapons. That came out June 1st, 2023. So it's just a further confirmation that they are indeed continuing on with that effort.
So this is what we're up against. They have a huge arsenal of tools at their disposal and weapons to use against us. And we can't even get our fellow person to even entertain these ideas. So it's very bleak, very frustrated. I see everything going on with Trump's out-of-the-box re-election campaign being a big distraction to things like this. This Maui, these are real people dying. These are real kids being trafficked, if not just outright turned to ash. All for the greater good, whatever that means. Some smart city, some BlackRock, Vanguard purchases to get them off the land faster and in a creative way. And it's all under the radar. Happens so fast that our attention spans are now on to the next thing. And of course, they have to orchestrate a false flag in Florida for a shooting. They have to stoke the race war even more. It's all ridiculous. So again, just stock supplies, get things in place that you can handle whatever they're going to bring at us, because they are bound and determined to keep doing the playbook over and over. At some point, they might have to actually show their hand, but I don't know if they've officially are ready for a blue beam type scenario. But something is coming. It's going to be, I don't know when. I'm guessing we'll have closer to the election. They're going to amp everything up so, they're going to ratchet everything up so drastically that it's just, I guess you just tune it out. That's basically the only way to cope, is because they're going to force it on us in every direction. So again, get more supplies, stock up, get ready to weather whatever they're going to throw at us, fake, real, or otherwise. Until next time.